Full update available. The dramatic story begins. My wife is the rising Best Actress, Lisa Rain. But I personally kicked her out. She left in agony to develop her career abroad. Now she's back in the country. But she has no idea that I've already died. The first reception after Lisa Rain returned home was a celebration party for the new film. At the table, glasses clinked in toasts and retorts. Flattering words and praises for her echoed endlessly. The atmosphere was incredibly lively, until a woman in a server uniform suddenly knelt down beside her. The private room suddenly fell into silence. Everyone looked bewildered. The kneeling woman was my sister. I had followed my sister to this place. Lisa Rain's cold face emerged from behind the wineglass. 7 years, without seeing each other. She had changed so much. Looking at this face I hadn't seen in so long, a wave of sorrow instantly enveloped my entire body. The woman who once depended on me, who had laughed and cried, who had acted spoiled, now her eyes held only an icy indifference. Sensing the disturbance beside her, she tilted her head and lowered her gaze to my sister, a face filled with panic and pleading. Separated by 7 years, old acquaintances reunite. Lisa Rain's face showed no trace of past affection. My sister knelt on the ground, her whole body trembling. Little Rain, you've finally come back. Keith Dalton is injured. He's currently at the South City nursing home. The boy misses you so much. Can you go visit him? 7 years ago, I died a tragic death. Eyes wide open in death. Because of that, my sister developed delusions. She always remembered the moment I was dying. In agony, calling out Lisa Rain's name. Over the past 7 years, she blamed herself countless times, feeling she couldn't fulfill my dying wish. After Lisa Rain looked at my sister for a while, she suddenly burst into a disgusted laugh. Her demeanor seemed like she truly didn't recognize the person in front of her. Who are you? Who is the person you're talking about? As Lisa Rain laughed, the people in the room immediately joined in with sycophantic laughter. Many even openly mocked. South City nursing home? Hasn't it been closed for several years now? If you want to scam money, at least prepare a script first. Our great star Lisa would let someone like you call her Little Rain. Hurry up and throw this crazy woman out. Out of nowhere, a wineglass flew over, smashing straight into my sister's head. Someone sneered in disgust. Get out of here. The glass hit her forehead. Fresh blood immediately streamed down. My anger surged like wildfire, clenching my fists, ready to charge forward, desperate to fight the one who hurt my sister. Until my soul passed through the void, I realized that I was already dead. The sister, who had relied on me for over 20 years, now injured because of me. Yet, I no longer had the strength to protect her. My heart ached like it was being sliced. As my sister was about to be dragged away by the servers, she suddenly pulled out her phone. Keith Dalton is really injured and hospitalized. It's serious. I have a photo on my phone. Little Rain, look at me. Seeing my sister take out her phone to search for the photo, my heart suddenly leaped into my throat. Because that photo was my appearance at the moment of death. A gaunt face, blood flowing from mouth and nose, body nothing but skin and bones, pale, sickly complexion, looking no different from a corpse, even more terrifying than a dead person. Lisa Rain had loved me for so many years, but she had never seen me in such a ruined state. I wanted to stop it. I didn't want the one I loved to see my pathetic dying form. But in my heart, a faint hope arose. Wanting to know her reaction upon seeing this photo, Lisa Rain gently swirled her wineglass. Amid my sister's pleas and clinging, finally, she lost patience and turned her face, seeming to want to glance at the photo. But the server beside her had seen the content in the photo. perhaps fearing it would affect Lisa Rain's appetite, making her unhappy and angry. The server immediately acted, knocking my sister's phone to the ground. That man viciously cursed. "Where did you get this photo of a dead person? Don't you see how disgusting it is?" Lisa Rain glanced at the phone on the ground. She seemed to freeze for an extremely brief moment, but in the end, she didn't look again and withdrew her gaze, continuing to drink with the director beside her. The private room returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. My sister wailed and was dragged out by several servers. She was discarded outside the hotel. At dusk, the car lights like a vast ocean, while my sister curled up alone under a tree, no different from a dried leaf fallen to the ground. No one paid attention to her painful mutterings. How did it come to this? Dalton and Little Rain clearly had such a good relationship. How could it turn out like this? If I can't bring Little Rain back, Dalton will be so sad. I can't let him be sad. She repeated those words over and over, her consciousness gradually becoming hazy. My parents died early. For so many years it was my sister who took care of me. She always wanted to give me the best. The thing she said most was that as a sister, she couldn't let her little brother be sad. I stood with her in the cold wind. A man like me couldn't hold back the stinging in my eyes. Luckily, now I'm just a soul. My sister couldn't see me. Occasionally, passers-by sighed, "So pitiful." Another crazy one. My sister stubbornly refused to leave. She waited until midnight, waiting until her whole body shivered, her face pale as a sheet. Lisa Rain finally stepped out of the hotel. My sister hurriedly stood up, then staggered forward. "Little Rain, listen to me. Dalton has really." Lisa Rain looked at her, then glanced at the assistant beside her. She tucked her long hair behind her ear, suddenly letting out a soft laugh. "This person keeps harassing me over and over. Taking her to the police station wouldn't be too much, right?" The assistant paused for a moment, cautiously replying, "Sister Rain, let me take her." Lisa Rain gave my sister a cold smile. "No, I'm in a good mood today. I want to take her myself." The assistant didn't understand. Lisa Rain opened the back door, letting my sister get in the car. Only then did she explain to the assistant, "You don't know. This one isn't ordinary. She's the sister of my ex-boyfriend whom I once loved deeply." The words sounded light, but the tone was filled with disgust. At this point, she finally stopped pretending not to know, and no longer hid her hatred for me. I felt a bitter choke in my throat, not knowing what she planned for my sister, but powerless to do anything. Lisa Rain didn't ride in the same car as my sister. She slammed the door and got into the car in front. Her driver was her uncle, Uncle Lewis, currently her personal chauffeur. Ad. The man glanced at her through the rearview mirror. After a long while, he spoke. "Little Rain making a scene at the police station isn't good. Just let it go." Lisa Rain leaned back in the seat, her face hidden behind sunglasses and a mask, emotions unclear. But through her body lines, it was evident she had become much thinner. Perhaps being a big star, body management was extremely strict. Her voice was cold, but seemed to carry a hint of fatigue. "She keeps coming to my door herself. Wild day." Persistent and unending. In front, Uncle Lewis sighed. "I see Keith Dalton's sister. Her mental state seems unstable. Over the past 7 years I've returned home so many times, and never once encountered Keith Dalton." His voice paused slightly. "Don't blame me for overthinking. Could something have happened to Keith Dalton?" Lisa Rain took off her sunglasses and tossed them aside, opening her closed eyes. She was full of sarcasm. Anyone could have something happen, but not him. He knows how to take care of himself very well. For himself, for his future and benefits, he could abandon anything. In front, Uncle Lewis opened his mouth to say something, then stopped. This statement he couldn't refute, because 7 years ago, I indeed abandoned her for my future and benefits. Lisa Rain. She and I met in college. She was the school beauty, with countless suitors. Yet, she only fell for me. Back then, even a playboy from the capital like Ethan York was one of those secretly admiring her. After she and I got together, Ethan York still, for her sake, didn't hesitate to give up his study abroad slot. He gifted luxury cars, villas, even flaunted right in my face. I am waiting for you two to break up. Then I'll take little Rain to enjoy wealth and luxury. Rain angrily threw the car keys straight at his face. At that time, her youthful face radiant and proud, unable to hide her joy. She glared angrily at Ethan York, emphasizing each word. Then wait until your next life. After saying that, she added, no, in the next life I still want to be with Dalton. Ethan York harbored resentment because of that. He made things difficult for me at school, and after graduation, he kept targeting me. I studied law. After graduating, interviewing at law firms. Because of Ethan York's interference, I was rejected everywhere. I had no choice but to scrape together money to open a small law office, taking on free legal aid cases. To gradually build reputation, Lisa Rain invested all the money she earned from acting as an extra into my office. In the hardest times, she and I lived in a rented room less than 30 square meters. On New Year's Eve, the fridge only had the last bag of frozen dumplings left. She fried half, boiled half, struggling to make 2 dishes. Her most beautiful hands, in the end, roughened and cracked by life's grind. As the dumpling entered my mouth, I looked at her and couldn't swallow. That night, for the first time, I cried in front of her. I sobbed, little Rain, I'm sorry. I can't give you a good life. Under the dim yellow light, she hugged me tightly. The woman's hot tears burned my chest like fire. She gently said, clearly, I've made you suffer. When she looked up at me, her eyes sparkled like stars. Dalton, I'm not afraid of hardship. As long as you never abandon me, never leave me. I held her tightly, each word of the vow etched deep in my heart. I said, I swear, I never will. But later, I broke my promise. I pulled back my thoughts. Lisa Rain's car had stopped in front of the police station. She got out, and right after, the back door opened. Her assistant dragged my sister out. My sister looked at the police station gate, her face showing clear horror and unease. Her face, which had just regained a bit of color, became pale again. My sister must have remembered past events. The day I had trouble, it was the police who brought me back. But in Lisa Rain's eyes, my sister's panic was just a guilty conscience. The woman let out a cold laugh. Scared already? Earlier, when demanding I pay hospital fees for your brother, you didn't look like this. My sister didn't understand those words. She just anxiously looked at Lisa Rain. Rain, we've come to the wrong place. Dalton is at the nursing home, not here. Lisa Rain, full of sarcasm. Who said I want to visit him? My sister, bewildered and uncomprehending. Not visiting Dalton. Then Rain, why did you bring me here? Lisa Rain showed clear impatience, signaling the assistant to drag my sister inside directly. She coldly uttered, playing dumb, you're just as good at it as your brother. I saw my sister being pulled by the male assistant. When stepping up the stairs, she nearly collapsed. Over the past 7 years, my sister, overwhelmed by grief from my departure, her health withered day by day. I was terrified, fearing something would happen to her. My heart burned like fire, but powerless to stop it. My sister was roughly dragged into the police station. The one sitting inside was Captain Victor, the deputy captain. He was an old acquaintance of my family. As soon as he saw my sister being bullied, he immediately stood up in rage, approaching to scold that assistant. What the hell are you people doing? Lisa Rain leisurely stepped in from behind. She flashed a social smile and stepped forward to explain. Captain Victor, you're scolding the wrong person. This woman keeps clinging to me, and even tried to scam me. I deliberately brought her here to ask you police officers for help. Captain Victor looked at Lisa Rain. His gaze paused for a moment. Very quickly, a look of sorrow and regret appeared in his eyes. You're back. What a pity. It's been 7 years already. He was heartbroken on my behalf. 7 years ago. The person I most longed to see before dying. In the end, I couldn't meet. Lisa Rain didn't understand the implication in his words. She scanned the police station lobby. I had a moment of daze, even thinking she was searching for my figure. Captain Victor and I had a very good relationship. Before, after work, I often dropped by here to sit for a bit, then invited Captain Victor out for a few drinks. Now the sky had just darkened, right at the time I used to come most. But now, that could never happen again. After scanning around, Lisa Rain sarcastically said, "Your sister is in trouble. Why hasn't the great lawyer Keith shown up yet to defend her a bit?" The great lawyer Keith in her mouth was me. As soon as she finished, Captain Victor and several other officers in the lobby all looked at her with dissatisfied eyes. 7 years ago, after my incident, it was Captain Victor who brought me back. That matter, almost everyone in this station knew. One officer, too angry, directly reprimanded Lisa Rain. What do you mean by that? Even today, you still want to rub salt in her wound? You're going too far. Lisa Rain was bewildered, not understanding what was going on. She couldn't fathom why these officers reacted so harshly. She just thought simply that she brought my sister here, and had just mentioned my name. My sister's already dazed face gradually showed extreme pain. The police station, this place both familiar and terrifying, had stirred up horrifying memories in her. She seemed to gradually recall the events of 7 years ago, recalling the day I had trouble, and the day I passed away. Overwhelmed by emotion, she couldn't stand and collapsed to the ground. Her face twisted. Her trembling hands clutched her head tightly. I've forgotten Dalton again. He's no longer Dalton, my little brother. He has. Her mouth muttered nonstop. Words jumbled. Both hands gripping her head with great force, trembling incessantly. Her emotions clearly spiraling out of control. A strange expression. Her hands forcefully pulling her hair. Tears and snot streaming down her face. Her appearance gradually becoming mad. Her lips starting to turn pale. She seemed about to suffocate. From her throat came choked sounds like a cornered beast. Captain Victor was the first to notice something wrong with my sister. He rushed over in panic to support her, then yelled at his subordinates to call an ambulance immediately. The police station quickly became chaotic. Many people gathered to help, some loudly comforted, telling her to calm down, breathe deeply and not bite her lips so hard. Lisa Rain witnessed the chaotic and exaggerated scene before her. I don't know if it was my illusion, but her eyes, originally full of indifference and mockery, at this moment, seemed to flash a hint of unease. But very quickly, she regained her composure, even finding it a bit amusing, saying, "What act is this? Anyone who doesn't know would think Keith Dalton is dead or something." My sister's face was deathly pale, lips pale without a trace of color. Hearing those words, she suddenly lifted her head, her swollen red eyes glaring at her, perhaps recognizing the malice in Lisa Rain's tone. In her delirium, she mistook Lisa Rain for the culprit who killed me years ago. My sister madly jumped up, staggering straight toward her, teeth grinding as if wanting to tear Lisa Rain apart. Captain Victor struggled to hold my sister back. The man who was always polite and refined now yelled straight at Lisa Rain's face. "Shut your mouth right now. Get out." Lisa Rain's face stiffened. Her sarcastic smile completely froze in that instant. The ambulance rushed in. My sister was helped onto it to be taken to the hospital. The police station gradually quieted down, the chaos and wailing just now like an illusion. Lisa Rain dazedly watched the departing figure. Even after the ambulance had gone far for a while, she still couldn't snap back, until someone in the station reminded, "Miss Rain, do you have anything else?" Lisa Rain, as if waking from a dream, she looked at the officer. Since she returned home, this was the first time I saw deep in her eyes a hazy, flustered look. She asked the person beside, "What does that mean?" The officer coldly replied, "Whatever Miss Rain thinks it means, that's what it means." Lisa Rain wanted to say something more, but her assistant pushed the door in, softly asking, "Sister Rain, it's late, should we head back first?" Big stars are easily tailed by paparazzi. Staying late at night at the police station, easily leading to baseless rumors. Lisa Rain finally asked nothing more. Left with the assistant, she let the assistant drive back alone, while she got in the car for Uncle Louis to take her home. I really wanted to go to the hospital to visit my sister, but for some reason my soul couldn't control itself, stuck firmly by Lisa Rain's side. Perhaps 7 years ago when I left, in the end, I still couldn't let her go. Now, after 7 years apart, meeting again as a soul, I still hope to look at her a bit more. The span of 7 years was too long. My soul began weakening day by day. Perhaps the day of dissipation wasn't far. On the way back, Lisa Rain showed clear dejection. Perhaps the day of dissipation wasn't far. On the way home, Lisa Rain's mind was clearly dazed. She remained silent. Halfway through, she suddenly looked at Uncle Louis in front. Her voice carried an undisguised loneliness. She said her brother is no more. What does no more mean? Uncle Louis's hands on the wheel suddenly tightened. He looked through the rearview mirror, his face incredulous. How could that be? Little Rain, did you mishear? Lisa Rain's face showed a sarcastic smile, but that smile was extremely stiff, even uglier than crying. I didn't mishear, but she looks like she has mental issues. Definitely just rambling, she said to Uncle Louis, but it was more like talking to herself. Uncle Louis thoughtfully said, "All said and done, little Rain. You've been abroad for 7 years. I haven't heard any news about Keith Dalton at all. This is indeed a bit strange." Lisa Rain's mask had been removed early. She held it in her hand and forgot to throw it away. At some point, the mask had been crumpled into a ball in her palm. Her hand unconsciously kept squeezing hard. Then, as if extremely annoyed, she tossed the mask aside. In short, Keith Dalton couldn't possibly be dead. Uncle Louis, in front, glanced at her through the rearview mirror again. No wonder he looked so many times. Because Lisa Rain right now really looked unwell. She was now a big star, every move exuding cold arrogance. But at this moment, even trying to pretend calm, still revealed an uncontrollable restlessness. Not getting a response, Lisa Rain muttered to herself a few more sentences. How could someone like him die? The most selfish type, who values his own life the most. If he died, that would be good. Dying would truly be great news. Her mouth said, full of indifference, but she repeated it too many times. Even today, she had changed a lot. But at this exact moment, I suddenly saw she was just like before. Still couldn't hide her thoughts, couldn't hide her emotions. She was uneasy, tense, even seeming fearful. Light flashed through the car window. Half her face sunk in darkness. A big star, with infinite glamour, at this moment revealed a heartbreaking loneliness. My throat bitter, an indescribable sorrow. Lisa Rain muttered for a long time. In the end, just those few sentences. She said she didn't care if I lived or died. Said she only wished I'd die already. Until Uncle Lewis in front finally spoke. "Little Rain, how about tomorrow I go inquire about Keith Dalton's recent situation?" Lisa Rain suddenly lifted her head, like someone had stabbed her hidden feelings. Her emotions started losing control, her voice full of resentment and unwillingness. "Uncle, what do you mean? Do you think I still care about him?" Uncle Lewis sighed. He said nothing more, but the silence was enough to convey the meaning. Lisa Rain clenched her fists tight. Her eyes rimmed red at this moment. "Do you think I haven't let him go yet? In everyone's eyes, am I the type who, even after being abandoned like a dog back then, still craves to wag my tail begging for some affection?" Uncle, seeing her like that, hurriedly pulled over to console. "Little Rain, I didn't mean that." Lisa Rain's eyes bloodshot, her gaze almost shattering. "Do all people see me as that cheat? Damn it. Why must I humble myself in love before Keith Dalton?" Uncle, anxiously, "Little Rain, I really didn't mean that. We won't inquire anymore. Don't be angry." Lisa Rain almost screamed hoarsely. "I'm telling everyone, no one is allowed to inquire about him. Whether he lives or dies, I don't care. I don't care." Her whole body even started trembling, directly pushing the car door to step out. Leaving a sentence, "I'll take a taxi back myself." She hailed a taxi and got in. I saw those originally clear, distant eyes. At this moment dyed a vivid red. My heart couldn't suppress throbbing pains. Even now, I'd rather she had truly let me go. Lisa Rain took the taxi home. When entering, she didn't bother turning on the lights. Just like that, relying on the faint moonlight outside the window to go upstairs. Stepping into the bedroom, she looked both irritated and restless. The handbag in her hand was thrown straight onto the carpet. When going up, because the light was too dim, she nearly tripped on the stairs and fell. Entering the room, she kicked off her shoes, didn't even take off her coat and flopped onto the sofa, quickly pulling a blanket over herself. I looked at that empty bed, involuntarily remembering 7 years ago, the time when we hadn't broken up yet. On winter nights, like this, she always liked to cling to me like an octopus when sleeping, always having to drape an arm or leg over me to settle. Her body was naturally cold. When sleeping alone, her limbs were always icy. Yet now she wouldn't sleep on the bed. She curled up in the blanket, dozed off for a bit. Waking in the middle of the night, the cloth doll she had thrown beside the sofa, at some point, had been hugged tightly in her arms. Lisa Rain opened her eyes, looking at the doll in the dark, her eyes showing bewilderment. Then, as if suddenly awakening, like touching a hot coal burning her hand, she forcefully threw the doll to the ground. Seeming still not satisfied, she jumped up, quickly walked to the nightstand drawer, pulled it open to take out scissors, then turned on the light, picked up that doll. The fabric had yellowed with age. She ruthlessly slashed a long cut, exposing the cotton stuffing inside. Her hands trembled, her eyes covered in a misty layer. I looked at her, feeling that pile of cotton, feeling those cotton scraps like choking in my throat. Lisa Rain intended to pick up the phone. The screen lit up, displaying an unknown number. A call not saved with a name. But perhaps she still recognized the owner of that number. After a brief hesitation, she reached to press the hang-up button, but then, unclear what she was considering, she still decided to press answer. The voice from the other end made me feel incredibly familiar. I rummaged through my memories for a while to recall. It was Ethan York, his voice full of affection and flattery. "Little Rain, after 7 years missing, you finally returned home? The welcome back cleansing banquet for you. Why didn't I get an invite?" Lisa Rain showed clear disgust, but didn't hang up. She coldly laughed in response. "Invite you for what? To wait for you to bring Keith Dalton here to humiliate me again?" On the other end, Ethan York seemed very smug. He burst into laughter. "It's just dusty past matters. What's there to feel humiliated or not. Lisa Rain didn't understand his implication. Or perhaps she thought the pile of ashes Ethan York mentioned was the old relationship between me and her. Now, all just passing clouds. Not worth bothering about. She sarcastically said, I hear your law firm has been doing well these years. Looks like the gift the great lawyer Keith gave you 7 years ago has helped you a lot, huh? The other side suddenly went silent for a long time. Only after a while did Ethan York softly change tone. Little Rain, what kind of joke are you making? 7 years ago, the reason I gave to abandon Lisa Rain was I wanted to use her to exchange for a position in the Keith family law firm. I agreed to break up with her, to yield her to Ethan York. But in reality, that law firm, I never set foot in even for a day. Lisa Rain coldly snapped. Who has time to joke with you? Ethan York went silent again for a bit. His tone suddenly became strangely excited. Little Rain, are you serious? You really fear I'll bring Keith Dalton to humiliate you? What he really wanted to confirm was, Lisa Rain truly still didn't know that I had died. 7 long years had passed. Turns out Lisa Rain was completely unaware. Lisa Rain's face filled with disgust. You nutcase, I have no time for nonsense with you. She was about to hang up when Ethan York seemed to notice her intention. He immediately hurried. Wait, Little Rain, I have a super important hot news to tell you. Lisa Rain's motion to hang up paused slightly. He then rambled on. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll wait for you at my law firm. Lisa Rain's hand holding the phone tightened, but her tone still full of impatience. If there's something, say it right now. Ethan York's voice carried a bizarre excitement. No, this earth-shattering good news. I must tell you in person. I have to see your reaction with my own eyes. You don't know. I'm really curious to death here. Ethan York had once competed with me for Lisa Rain. That competition had lasted too many years. But even though in the end I betrayed and abandoned Lisa Rain, he still couldn't fulfill his wish to be with her. The other end couldn't hide the excitement. Little Rain, I'll wait for you tomorrow. You must come on time, okay? I hope for you. This really will be earth-shattering good news. Little Rain, don't be all bark and no bite, okay? Lisa Rain didn't respond at all. Unclear how much time passed. The call finally ended. The bedroom sank into a deadly silence. Lisa Rain tossed the scissors and the torn doll aside. She sat dazed on the sofa. She didn't lie down anymore. Didn't bother doing anything else. Just sat there silently like that. Her eyes like a 1,000-year deep pool. No ripple of emotion. Until an entire long night passed. My soul floated in the bedroom. The most painful memories once again overflowed beyond control into my mind. More than 7 years ago, I took on a legal aid case. That case was introduced to me by Lisa Rain herself. That night she called me, saying she was filming in a deep mountain area in Yunnan. In the afternoon, and after finishing the shoot, on the way walking back to the hotel, she suddenly had low blood sugar. A little girl gave her a candy. That child was covered in scars. On her dirty face, hardly any spot intact. Lisa Rain, after inquiring, learned that child was frequently abused by her biological father. I still remember, that night Lisa Rain said to me over the phone, Dalton. Seeing her, I remembered myself as a child. Suddenly, I really wanted to call you, thinking perhaps you'd be willing to help her. Hearing those words, I felt as if she was asking, Dalton, are you willing to help the childhood Lisa Rain? Lisa Rain was an orphan. Grew up in an orphanage from a young age. She was like me, lost parents early. But at least I still had my sister, still had someone to care for me. I heard her tell, as a child she was bullied a lot. A little girl with no one to rely on. Yet possessing a beautiful face might not necessarily be a good thing. Covetousness from the opposite sex and jealousy from the same sex, all could become disasters. I could never utter refusal to her. That night, after not seeing for so long, hearing her voice over the phone, I agreed immediately without thinking to collect evidence of the father's abuse. I went to the child's home. I gifted the father a pair of fine wines, said I was the child's teacher, coming to tutor her. I also brought down lots of food from the car, saying the next 2 days I'd cook. That brutal man took the wine, only then becoming a bit warmer. I collected enough evidence, then discussed carefully with the child. After winning the case, helping her leave that father, I'd find ways to contact relevant parties to sponsor her education. Everything went smoothly until I gathered enough evidence and planned to return to prepare the lawsuit procedures. But that very afternoon, before leaving, I secretly followed the child's father and saw that scene. That was a scene that even recalling today still gives goosebumps, scalp tingling. I never thought a small domestic abuse case could lead to such a horrifying major case. In the deep mountains, with no people, on the desolate field, those vibrant flowers swayed in the wind, freely stretching. Looking far, completely no end in sight, but hidden in this uninhabited place were ghostly shadows, growing twistedly. My legs instantly went weak. My vision even blackened. I recognized those flowers, also because of Lisa Rain. She once played a small role in a film about anti-drugs, blood and death, abyss and despair. After acting in that film, she had deep realizations. That night, she hugged me in bed, sighing emotionally. We don't need great wealth, but no matter what, the things we do must be without shame, worthy of ourselves. I left that deep mountain area, returned to the peaceful city. I knew clearly what I should do, but reason and fear, like two ends of a rope, madly tearing in my brain. In the end, in my mind only her words remain, no matter what, must be without shame. As dawn broke, I chose to report to the police. More than a month later, the police busted a massive drug production gang at the border. Regarding my identity and testimony, the police kept absolute secrecy because it was a major case. As the informant and lawyer, I assisted the police with a lot of work. I had been a small nameless lawyer for many years. That was the first major case I participated in, and also the last major case in my life. The case ended. Criminals in prison. My life returned to its usual, calm track. I secretly felt lucky, because at that time, I helped that child collect. During those days, collecting domestic abuse evidence, partly due to rhinitis, partly always wary of strangers and unfamiliar environments. I wore a mask throughout the journey. Eating or personal hygiene I did quietly alone. Even at night, sleeping, I locked the door tight, wearing the mask to sleep. I was certain, during those 2 days in that valley, no one saw my face clearly. Time passed. That matter gradually forgotten by me, until nearly 3 months later, I fell into the drug dealer's hands. They didn't take my life, but used the most cruel method, making me never have the face to return to my loved one. I still remember the weird laugh in that man's throat, his voice like a demon's. You hate that stuff because you haven't tasted its wonderful flavor yet. He aimed the needle straight at my neck. In my brain began exploding, throbbing pain. My memories broke off here. I couldn't remember anymore. How did those people recognize me? How did they find me? Seems I forgot the most important thing about the reason they found me. Seemed related to Lisa Rain. I wanted to think more carefully, but memories like a wall blocking, making me unable to recall clearly. Captain Victor found me, brought me back from the drug dealer's hands. Those people had to go to prison, while my cage was the rest of my life. When first returning, I also struggled. I was unwilling to give up Lisa Rain. So I pretended nothing happened, continued living with her. Until just a few short days passed, I clearly felt my emotions and behaviors starting to lose control. Lisa Rain would show a fearful, uneasy face because I suddenly broke dishes. She faced my baseless rage, even though clearly doing nothing wrong. She still trembled, apologizing to me. "Dalton, did I do something to make you angry?" She even sorrowfully, cautiously asked me, "Dalton, you seem to have lost a lot of weight. How about we go to the hospital for a checkup?" I had only returned for 3 days. In the end, I realized some things couldn't be resisted just by persistence. That night, I suddenly jumped out of bed, stepped out of the house. Reason completely vanished. I only felt extremely thirsty, as if a hand reached out from my throat, writhing to grab what it craved. I couldn't think anymore. I wanted to find that water I was craving. Until Lisa Rain ran out. She stood on the steps, both worried and heartbroken, calling my name. "Dalton, it's so cold. Why are you going out?" I turned, looking at her under the clear moonlight, finally understanding she and I could never go back. I took the initiative to find Ethan York. I told him those bitter days were too hard. I wanted to join his law firm to make a living. I said to show sincerity, I was willing to yield Lisa Rain to him. Ethan York at first didn't believe, but seeing I was serious, he was ecstatic to madness. That very night, he called Lisa Rain over. Even today, I still remember vividly Lisa Rain's figure in Ethan York's office, crying and begging me not to abandon her. Over these 7 years, every recall makes me endlessly pained, heart like being cut by knives. When my thoughts return, the sky was fully bright. Lisa Rain had stayed up all night. She got up from the sofa, her appearance clearly restless. She went to the bathroom to wash up. The phone kept ringing non-stop. Probably film crew matters. She had just returned home. These days should have been very busy. The phone rang incessantly, but after washing up and coming out, she still didn't bother answering. The assistant could only text, "Sister Rain, Director Zhang's side is urging urgently. Everyone is waiting just for you. I'll come pick you up now." Lisa Rain picked up the phone, finally sent back a message. "I'm catching a cold, feeling a bit tired. Rest one day." The other side anxiously texted back repeatedly, but the film crew's progress was really very. Right when the message came, the film crew's phone called again. Lisa Rain glanced, then directly turned off the phone. She stared out the window. Snow had started falling. The old doll with a big tear, lying lonely on the floor. She looked at it for a long, long time. Only until nearly 10 a.m. did she stand up. She drove to Ethan York's law firm. It was already past 10. Outside the office, Ethan York was anxiously waiting there. Seeing Lisa Rain step out of the car, the man's eyes immediately lit up. He eagerly approached, his tone full of flattery. "Little Rain, I thought you wouldn't come. I told you, you still care about him." Lisa Rain, hearing that, her face immediately wrinkled in disgust. "What nonsense are you spouting?" Ethan York's smile deepened. "Look at you, I haven't even said who he is. And you understood immediately." Lisa Rain's face ugly as if swallowing a fly. She stepped into the office. Inside, quite a few staff bustling about. Lisa Rain scanned around once, her expression indifferent, as if just casually glancing. Ethan York, as if seeing through everything, smiled, saying, "Don't look anymore, Little Rain. You won't find him." Lisa Rain sarcastically smiled faintly. "Oh, is that so? Looks like your law firm can't keep people, huh?" Ethan York immediately acted innocent. "You're wronging me too much. Whether 7 years ago or 7 years now, Keith Dalton has never set foot in my law firm." Lisa Rain's expression slightly froze. Ethan York stepped closer, as if wanting to see clearly the expression of the person beside. There's one more thing I need to explain. That you won't find him, I said. Not just at my place. His voice paused a beat. The tone with a smile suddenly became low and slow. I mean from 7 years ago, from the day you went abroad. No matter where you go, to any corner of the world, you will never find him again. Little Rain, Keith Dalton is dead. He died exactly on the day you went abroad 7 years ago. Lisa Rain's face, in an instant, became deathly pale. She even became awkward, clumsy. The woman who was always sharp, eloquent, at this moment as if forgetting how to respond. But very quickly, perhaps she composed herself, finding Ethan Yorke's words ridiculous and absurd. She frowned coldly, laughing, but in her voice revealed a tiny tremble. Crazy! Ethan Yorke laughed loudly. Don't believe, don't rush, Little Rain. I went to the trouble of calling you here. So, today, naturally, I'll make you believe, he said, while pulling out his phone, opening a photo. This photo, identical to the one my sister showed that day. That day, my sister brought the photo forward, but Lisa Rain didn't bother looking. But this time, Lisa Rain full of resistance, in her heart only wanting to leave immediate, but her feet, like rooted in place, couldn't lift, as if some invisible force, holding tight, nailing her body there, making her unable to move, until Ethan Yorke brought that truly bloody photo right before her eyes. Blood everywhere, tragically bone-chilling, face blurred, unclear. Me in that photo, even at death, still gasping a last breath. But the form too wretched, just one look enough to see, had endured extreme pain and torment. Ethan Yorke, seeming to fear Lisa Rain hadn't seen clearly enough, he directly swiped to the next photo. In the new image, a pure white cloth had covered my face. Lisa Rain's face stiffened to the extreme, devoid of any emotion. No sorrow or pain, no joy or glee. Not a single trace of feeling remained on her face. She just stared blankly at the photos, being flipped through on Ethan Yorke's phone. No happiness, no sadness. A soulless expression. Ethan Yorke felt dissatisfied. He glanced at her. Little Rain, I went out of my way to bring you this heaven-sent good news. Why no reaction at all? He leaned down, tilting his head, full of interest, bringing his face close to hers. So, are you happy or not? Lisa Rain had always rejected the flirtations and approaches of Ethan Yorke, but at this moment, it seemed she had forgotten even to dodge or get angry. The color in her face drained away, from pale white, even turning to a greenish pallor like someone suffocated. Her hands hanging limply at her sides began to tremble unconsciously. After a long while, she dazedly lifted her eyes to the man before her. That gaze, not quite cold or indifferent, but more like carrying a plea, pleading for an answer, so she could deceive herself. She spoke with difficulty, softly. The face is covered in blood. The back is also covered. Can't see clearly. After saying that, she hurriedly added as if to cover up, It's not Keith Dalton. Keith Dalton would never be like this. Ethan Yorke immediately zoomed in the photo for her to see the details. Face smeared with blood, but the features are still mostly visible. Moreover, the mole on the back of his hand is so clear like this. Look! Before he could finish, Lisa Rain had shoved both hands into her coat pockets, striding out of the law office. She didn't glance once more at the enlarged photo. Ethan Yorke didn't want to let her go like that. He strode after her, blocking her right at the door, then using his back to bar the exit. His face showed twisted and complex emotions, like gloating yet unwilling, both joyful and not. He blocked Lisa Rain about to speak, but, at the moment he looked at her face, he suddenly froze. Lisa Rain's face was pale as paper, contrasting with her reddened eyes, making it even harder for anyone to look directly. She looked like she might burst into tears the next second, yet stubbornly holding them back from falling. Ethan York moved his lips several times before managing to make a sound. He seemed to want to mock, to sarcasm. But in the end, the words that came out were only desolate. Little Rain, what was so good about that Keith Dalton? Where am I inferior to him? Lisa Rain looked at him, her eyes bloodshot, as if about to bleed. She stood straight, still the proud and cold superstar. But seeming like she might collapse any second, she ground out each word, her voice bone-chillingly cold. Move. Ethan York stared at her blankly, his expression changing from sad defeat to madness and hatred. How did he treat you back then? And you still can't let go? Lisa Rain, aren't you too cheap? Lisa Rain shoved her hands deep into her coat pockets, as if doing so would prevent anyone from seeing her body trembling, no one seeing the shattering of her emotions and her face. She still only repeated one sentence, move. Ethan York's eyes gradually filled with red veins. Admit it, someone like you is truly cheap. Even if that Keith Dalton treated you like a dog to discard, you'd still wish you could chain yourself to beg for his favor, right? The last bit of reason Lisa Rain was desperately maintaining seemed to completely shatter. She suddenly swung her hand, trembling, delivering a hard slap to the face of the man before her. Ethan York, unprepared, his face hit, twisted to the side pathetically. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes swirling with rage and unwillingness. Lisa Rain almost screamed in agony. I told you to get out. Get out, didn't you hear? Damn it, are you deaf? Or is there something wrong with your head? I don't believe it. Don't think I don't know what game you're playing. I'm telling you, I don't believe it. Damn it, I don't believe it. Her face twisted, at this moment, looking no different from a madwoman. Ethan York looked at her, stunned for a moment. He uttered, Little Rain, you. Lisa Rain, unknown where she found the strength, swung her hand to push him hard. Ethan York staggered back to the side. She immediately shoved the door and rushed out. The paparazzi world is extremely sharp. Outside already had quite a few reporters waiting. As soon as they saw Lisa Rain appear, the crowd surged forward to surround her. Countless mechs thrust toward Lisa Rain, flashlights firing non-stop, reporters shouting, competing to ask questions. Since becoming famous, Lisa Rain always had bodyguards and assistants accompanying her. It had been so long. She hadn't, without any preparation, had to get close to so many reporters like this. And in this barefaced, disheveled, and hasty state. Last night she had barely slept. At this moment, even her hair looked somewhat messy. The bare face of a superstar is also a hot topic. The reporters fearing to miss the chance. To capture every tiniest detail. Deep dark circles, bloodshot eyes, pale face, pallid lips, expression full of abnormality. Lisa Rain blankly looked at the crowd of reporters. She didn't avoid. Having rolled in the entertainment industry for many years, originally like a fish in water, always handling confidently, yet at this moment, that woman was like a child, in shock, flustered. The reporter's questions continued, even gradually becoming sharp. Sister Rain, are you sick? Is it a psychological issue? Did you stay over at Mr. Yu's place last night? Lisa Rain still stood there dazed. She was like suddenly appearing at an unfamiliar intersection, unable to discern directions, not knowing where she should go, until some reporter pushed hard. Or perhaps the whole crowd surged forward. Lisa Rain, like a porcelain item with no resistance, was pushed staggering back, then fell to the ground. Reporters had never seen such a wretched best actress. Everyone competing wanting to rush forward to capture the most exclusive photos. Until Ethan York, with a dark face, led security to push the door out. The reporters were chased away, and Lisa Rain, when no longer blocked, dazedly climbed into her car, drove away. She didn't go home, but drove to find the South City nursing home my sister had mentioned. When the car arrived, the location that was originally the nursing home, now only a desolate ruin remained. The hospital, with poor business, closed 7 years ago, not long after Lisa Rain went abroad. After that, someone took over the place to do business, but the location was truly too remote, in the end becoming a wasteland. Lisa Rain sat in the car, through a layer of glass, dazedly looking at the withered dead grass and trees. In the forest, strange birds cried mournfully. The desolate, gloomy feeling of twilight echoed all around. She sat in the car for a long, long time, until heaven and earth gradually sank into darkness. Only after that did I hear her utter a very soft call. "Where has Dalton gone?" That woman's voice was too small to the point that for a moment I thought it was just my own illusion. My heart, like a temple bell on a mountaintop, struck hard, vibrating violently. Who says the dead have no emotions? Why does my heart still feel stinging pain? The nursing home is gone. No matter how long Lisa Rain waits, that place can't reappear. It was just like the temple bell struck, resounding, vibrating endlessly. Who says after death there are no more emotions? Why can my heart still feel this tightening pain? The nursing home is gone. No matter how long Lisa Rain stands waiting, it can't suddenly appear again. In the end, she also drove away from this place. Perhaps she intended to go home, but passing a certain place suddenly slowed down. Not far away, a light was shining. In such a remote area, it became extremely prominent. I followed her gaze, my heart suddenly like being something cruelly squeezed. Countless buried painful memories suddenly flooded back like a torrent. The place Lisa Rain drove to, that shining place, was the rehab center. 7 years ago, I stayed there for a total of 4 days. The first 3 days, Lisa Rain hadn't left yet. During the day, I lied to her I was going to work. At night, returned to our home. On the night of the 3rd day, I lied to drive her away. Morning of the 4th day, Lisa Rain boarded the plane abroad. And exactly that evening, I died at a rehab center from bleeding from mouth and nose. My sister's memories had issues. The 4 days I was at the rehab center for her was a nightmare no one wanted to recall, so she defaulted to me being at the nearby nursing home. Lisa Rain parked outside the rehab center. She got out, stood looking inside for a long time, unclear if she had sensed something, until she saw an unfamiliar woman under the light outside the rehab center gate. That woman originally intended to pass by her, to go inside, but after casually glancing at Lisa Rain, then suddenly stopped. She stared at Lisa Rain, her expression extremely strange. After looking for a while Lisa Rain was still dazed, it took a long time before she sensed the gaze fixed on her. A superstar being stared at by strangers was commonplace. The number of people she didn't know, but who knew her face, was truly too many. Before, with such gazes, Lisa Rain always indifferently ignored. But at this moment, she caught that gaze. She spoke up, her voice unable to hide fatigue and hoarseness. "Do you know me, ma'am?" It took me a while to suddenly remember who this unfamiliar woman was. She was a staff worker at this rehab center. In the last 4 days of my life, she had cared for me, helped me detox. In those 4 days, she had countless times seen me take out Lisa Rain's photo to look and smile softly, calling Little Rain. Later, when I was about to pass, consciousness blurry, I still muttered, wanting to see Lisa Rain one last time. And she was always by my side. Truly too coincidental. At this moment she appeared right before Lisa Rain. The woman looked at Lisa Rain for a while before speaking. She shook her head, probably mistook someone, saying that she intended to go inside. But Lisa Rain chased a few steps, her voice trembling, calling her back. Do you know Keith Dalton? Was he? Her voice choked, as if no strength to continue. Only after taking a deep breath could she continue, her breath seeming to carry pain. 7 years ago, was he ever in here? I looked at the person before me incredulously. From when Lisa Rain returned home till now, no one had ever mentioned to her what I went through before death. No one told her how I left, what I endured before dying. But at this moment, it seemed she herself had figured it out. Perhaps she recalled my sister's pained appearance, recalled the strange reactions of the people at the police station. Perhaps she remembered before she left 7 years ago, I had wasted away rapidly in just a few days, along with suddenly losing control of emotions and mental state. Perhaps she had heard, or investigated, the drug case busted 7 years ago. The clues were always many, just before she never paid attention. But now, she had started to realize and understand, exactly when I had left this world for a full 7 years. The middle-aged woman looked at her for a long time before replying. Keith Dalton, probably this name. He never said. Lisa Rain looked at her with reddened eyes full of urgency. Why do you think I look familiar? The middle-aged woman examined her once more, only then speaking. That strange person stayed here for 4 days. Those 4 days, he always clutched a photo tightly, mouth non-stop calling a name. The person in that photo, I remember, looked very like you. She said, then explained. 7 years already, really too long. Mostly I misremembered. I only remember the person in the photo seemed beautiful just like you. Lisa Rain's voice trembled to the point almost inaudible. Those 4 days, when were they? Why do you say he was a strange person? The time of 7 years was truly too long. The middle-aged woman tried rummaging memories, only saying a few faint small fragments. I remember he was brought by police. He was hooked on that stuff, but the police treated him very politely. He was like, how to say, even like he had just achieved some great merit. Lisa Rain was actually always a very smart person. Just from those few words, perhaps she heard, guessed many things. Her body swayed. At the moment, nearly collapsing, she was caught by the middle-aged woman. Lisa Rain's complexion under the yellowish streetlight, pale to frightening, she shook her head, as if wanting to force herself to be alert and calm. I'm fine. Continue, please. The middle-aged woman hesitated a moment, then continued telling about his matters. He didn't want to say anything to the police, as if it was a secret. I only vaguely remember a few words overheard, like child abuse, and also business card or photo something. On Lisa Rain's beautiful face, all color had completely drained. My mind suddenly throbbed like hammered. Over 7 years, there was one thing I couldn't figure out. An important detail I had forgotten, now suddenly flooded back into my mind. 7 years ago, the remnants of the drug gang recognized me, found me because of a business card. That day, Lisa Rain finished filming. On the way walking back to the inn, had low blood sugar. She met that child. It gave her a candy. At that time, she had no item to thank with, so gave all the change in her wallet to the child. But in those changes was clipped my business card. On that small card, not only my name and photo, but even work address, scope of duties, all clearly noted. After police busted the drug production gang, the escaped ones found the child's father. They suspected the father leaked information. Sharp knife edge pressed to the man's neck. The child had repeatedly said wanting to escape her father, want to sever ties with him, but at the last minute, too scared, so handed over my card, saying I was undercover police. Actually, the child knew nothing. It just in urgency spoke nonsense. Unexpectedly hit half right. I wasn't undercover. But indeed, I reported. Lisa Rain staggered, collapsing to the ground. She dry heaved in pain. This time, the middle-aged woman couldn't catch her in time. From the rehab, someone came out, called the woman inside. Before going in, she said to Lisa Rain the last words. I still remember very clearly. The last day of those 4 days, coincidentally, was Little New Year's Eve. He passed that night, when blood flowed from all orifices, in hand, still clutching that photo. The first 3 days, every night he said must go back to celebrate New Year with his lover. On the 4th day, he said this time, probably no need to go back anymore. Such a pity. Just 3 days. And that person seemed to have abandoned him already. Lisa Rain sat on the ground, her expression pathetic and utterly despairing. Her tears silently streamed along her eye corners, but her face empty, lifeless. No sorrow, nor half a trace of emotion. Like a wooden puppet, soulless, lost consciousness. When the middle-aged woman stepped inside, right as the door was about to close, Lisa Rain suddenly, hoarsely, asked one more. Before going, was he in much pain? The woman paused at the big door. She turned back, looking at Lisa Rain, standing under the streetlight with a sorrowful face, full of plea. But she still spoke, her voice tinged with regret. Those who die from getting hooked on that stuff, who isn't in pain. Saying that, the woman turned away. The rehab center door slammed shut right before Lisa Rain. The surrounding space sank into a deadly silence. Lisa Rain sat dazed in the night for a long, long time, her eyes blankly looking ahead. Her eyes no longer focused. Like a cold lake, abyss, bottomless. Night deepened. The rehab lights successively went out, until endless darkness completely enveloped her. She slowly curled up, her whole body shivering violently. Fragmented sobs full of despair ached from her throat. I sat down beside Lisa Rain, raised my hand wanting to hold her, wanting to tell her don't be sad anymore. Actually, this matter wasn't her fault. But my hands only embraced void. In this life, we were destined never to touch again. Near midnight, Lisa Rain finally stood up. Like a gloomy soul, stepped into the car and left. She sought the room we once lived in. But that place long ago changed tenants. Everything inside also completely changed. Traces of Keith Dalton and Lisa Rain. Long ago, no remnant left, even a bit. Lisa Rain earnestly begged the new occupants, saying wanted to go in and look a bit. But she, at this time, hair disheveled, tears and dirt smudged all over her face. Both landlord and tenants saw her as crazy. Using reason, she trespassed private home to drive her away. Lisa Rain could only return to her own home. In the bedroom, the cloth doll she had cut ruined, still lying scattered on the floor. She staggered over to hug the doll. Her trembling hands rummaged every corner, wanting to find needle thread to sew it back. But this was the new house she bought after becoming famous. Such sewing tasks she never had to do herself. In her home, completely, no needle thread. She searched long without finding. Like our past, using the rest of life, also couldn't find back. Lisa Rain in the end collapsed to the ground again. She hugged the doll with a face full of confusion, helplessness. Choked cries rang out, like a child who lost a candy. She looked at the doll, like the way back then whenever wronged would find me, looking up at me full of grievance. You lied to me. You lied to me. She screamed, crying. Then that voice faded again, until the doll was carefully hugged in her arms again. Tears, drop by drop, silently soaked into the beige carpet. But why did I believe Dalton was the least lying person in the world? Why did Lisa Rain believe? Why believe? How could believe? How could possibly believe? Lisa Rain truly deserves to die. Lisa Rain locked herself in the bedroom for 3 days and nights. She didn't eat or drink for many days. In the end, only gasping, faint breaths. Snow outside the window fell, then stopped. Stopped, then fell. Everything continued. Time never stopped. Only she stayed holed up in this room, both hands hugging tight the torn doll, as if her life had frozen here, unable to take another step. 3 days later, on Kitchen God's Day, Lisa Rain leaned by the window, dozed off a bit. When waking, sunlight shone in from outside the window. Warm winter sun also couldn't melt the cold in this room. Lisa Rain slightly moved, tilted her head blankly looking out the window. Right after, as if suddenly remembering something, hurriedly clung to the wall to stand up. Her face already pale, wretched, but still forced all her strength to step into the bathroom. After hygiene and makeup, she changed into a beautiful outfit and wrapped a scarf, bright red. I once said she suited red very well. Her features radiant, sharp, when with red, created a heartbreaking beauty. But at this time, that red only made her face even more pale, ruined. The heavy makeup also couldn't hide the fatigue and sorrow enveloping. Dressed up, she left the house. Many days without a drop of water in stomach. Lisa Rain couldn't drive herself before going out when truly couldn't hold any more. She also only drank a glass of water. She didn't call assistant or driver, but hailed a taxi. I wasn't sure where she wanted to go, until hearing her tell the driver to the police station. I suddenly thought, perhaps she wanted to ask about my relics, last words or ashes. The taxi just arrived at the police station gate, just in time to see Captain Victor and my sister step out from inside. They got in the car and quickly left. Lisa Rain's eyes brimmed with tears. She told the driver ahead to follow their car. Midway, my sister got out into a flower shop. Very quickly after, she hugged a bouquet of white chrysanthemums out, back to the car, then left. At this point I realized my sister probably intended to go to my grave. Another little New Year's season. My death anniversary. When I shifted my gaze from my sister back, a tear just rolled down Lisa Rain's cheek. The car followed all the way to the cemetery. Lisa Rain paid and got out. The driver looked through the rear view, seeing those tears, and her face, a bit worried, asked, "Miss, are you okay?" Lisa Rain didn't respond. Like a soulless person. Didn't hear anything. She silently followed behind my sister and Captain Victor, stepped into the cemetery, until stopping before a grave with a blank stele. 7 years ago, I died from revenge, to prevent family and friends from unexpected disasters. The police chose to conceal the matter, the death, as well as my personal information. That was also why over 7 years, Lisa Rain never heard any news about my passing. My sister's mental state at this time seemed temporarily recovered to normal. She placed the bouquet before my grave, softly spoke, "Dalton, little Rain has returned home. I've met her. She lives well now. A big star, you know. Really talented. You there, this time can truly rest in peace." After speaking, she slowly squatted before the grave, cried soundlessly, "I didn't take good care of you." How to explain to Mom and Dad? My eyes only left stinging blur. Captain Victor stepped up to support my sister, advised her to grieve less. She kept crying, until hearing the choked sob of the woman behind, she suddenly turned back, saw Lisa Rain standing there, looking at the suddenly appeared person. My sister's emotions quickly lost control again. Her delusions sometimes awake, sometimes dream. Awake moments, only minority. Her expression early became bizarre. She madly jumped up from the ground, rushed to grab tight Lisa Rain's arm. Her eyes swirled hatred. "It's all you, all you. You gave Dalton's card to those bastards. You killed Dalton. You're the murderer. Murderer! On what basis are you still living freely like this? On what? Lisa Rain let my sister pull hard. Her dead eyes only stared at that blank grave steel. My sister's emotions gradually shattered, completely deeming Lisa Rain the one who murdered me. She tears streaming. Hatred mixed fear desperately pushed Lisa Rain away. Get out! Get out now! Don't come near my little brother anymore. Not allowed to find him anymore. Lisa Rain pushed staggering, stumbled back several steps, amid cold, snowy sky. Her face seemed even whiter than snow. She looked at my sister's mad appearance, then silently knelt down. Knelt before my sister, knelt before my grave. She spoke, voice hoarse, almost inaudible. It's I who failed him. You're right. I'm the murderer. My sister at this time completely lost mine. Hearing Lisa Rain admit she's the killer, she even more enraged, raised hand, delivered a hard slap to Lisa Rain's face. You bastard! Scum! Dalton was so good to you. Yet you dared repay kindness with enmity. You deserve death 1,000 times. Lisa Rain's body trembled in the cold wind. The red handprint on her pale face stood out clearly. Captain Victor several times intended to step up to stop, but all refused by Lisa Rain's silent gaze. My sister cried and trembled until, tired from hitting, tired from cursing, her chaotic memories slowly drifted elsewhere. Dalton is about to come home from work. I should go home too, she said while stepping past Lisa Rain to leave. Lisa Rain, trembling, reached to tug her hem. Sorry. Before going, did he have any last words? My sister suddenly turned back, glared at her fixedly, her voice hoarse, full of hatred. None, not at all. He said nothing. I'm telling you, don't dream anymore. Even if he said something, someone like you doesn't deserve to know anything of his. Don't even think of touching. Give up. Go die. Lisa Rain knelt amid snow. In the end, unable to utter more words. My sister and Captain Victor left. Lisa Rain knelt before the grave, bent over, hugging tight my grave steel. I heard her murmur softly, Dalton, I want to come keep you company. I closed my eyes. Old matters like clouds, all unable to return. Lisa Rain kept kneeling there until exhausted, then fainted. The cemetery keeper discovered, called ambulance, took her to hospital. I recalled my sister's appearance when leaving the cemetery. Unknown why, in heart suddenly surged ominous premonition. Over 7 years, many times she muttered, wanting to help me witness Lisa Rain living well, so I could rest easy. And now, she had seen. I thought more and more uneasy. I died, can't revive. But my sister, still young, hope the rest of her life she can live well. I hurriedly went to my sister's place. Luckily she was still at home normally. The snow-soaked clothes already changed. Out. Over 7 years, her life, always chaotic, often even hair not bothered to comb. But now she not only changed clean clothes, but also braided hair exquisitely, and light makeup. I was originally glad she finally cared for herself, but looking more felt something wrong, until she personally cooked herself a meal, ate, then returned to bedroom, lay on bed. She opened the nightstand drawer, from inside took out a fruit knife. My heart suddenly dropped, realized the ill omen. I opened mouth, wanting to yell to stop her, but already dead. Soul. How to make sound. My sister lay on bed. She slowly brought the blade to her wrist, her smile calm and full of anticipation. Dalton, finally I can go meet you and Mom, Dad. The blade cut into flesh, fresh blood spurted. I screamed in despair and pain. My soul, at the last moment, suddenly broke free from chains. Knocked that knife to the ground. Almost at the same time, I felt a massive force smash hard toward me. My soul, in that instant, torn into countless fragments, quickly dissipated into smoke. In the last bit of consciousness, I saw the knife fall to the ground. My sister struggled up from bed, her eyes full of joyful gaze into void. Dalton has always been here. Soul scattered. I calmly closed eyes. Sister, you must live well, okay? Extra the 10th day since Lisa Rain learned of Dalton's death. New Year's Eve, I bought a bag of frozen wontons. Half-boiled, half-fried. Scraped together 2 dishes on the table. Right then, Uncle called me. He said, "Little Rain, I'm at the restaurant. Table reserved. Come quick for reunion dinner." I have no parents. On holidays, no relative by side. Before, always Dalton and his sister with me for New Year. After we broke up, when gradually gained some fame in entertainment, began having people trying to curry favor. Every holiday, they'd book banquet restaurant to celebrate New Year with me. They thought that would make me happy, no longer feel lonely. Actually, more people, more lonely. Countless times I sat amid banquet, hearing those men drink and boast, in the private room atmosphere boiling, but all fake socializing. Flattery. The livelier, the easier I recalled that New Year's Eve, when I and Dalton together in the 30 SQM rented room. One bag of wontons split 2 ways into 2 dishes. He reluctant to eat more, the big, plump ones all picked into my bowl. Over 7 years, I've tasted countless delicacies, but never tasted again that bowl of wontons under dim yellow light that year. That hot flavor, warming both heart and stomach. But every time, couldn't hold back, wanting to return find him. In quiet, late night, I endlessly recall. That night, I cried begging him not to abandon me. That night, Ethan Yorke sat aside, mocking me like a dog. Look, this is the true heart you care nothing else for. Little Rain, that true heart, before reality and money. Not worth a cent. Before Keith Dalton, you not even worth a cent. When Ethan Yorke, sarcasm me, my lover also sat beside, laughing along. I miss him, but unwilling lowly. Didn't dare lowly. I began learning like those people. Go flatter, curry, favor, chase, fame, profit, give gifts, sell smiles, only beg for a good role, a good script, beg a stage chance, beg a gorgeous gown. I desperately climbed up. In most tired and hard times, I always imagined a day accidentally meet Keith Dalton. That man who abandoned me should look carefully. Lisa Rain isn't the type. Useless waste, only knowing to depend on him. The fame profit he craved, also, not necessarily, must abandon me to get. I want to see his regretful appearance. Want to see him cry, kneel, beg me return, beg me come back. At that time, perhaps I'd say to him, admit wrong and apologize. Then I'll consider. I suddenly awoke from my fantasy. Realized even in dreams seemed I still lowly. But I really miss him. 7 long years, countless days, nights. Every late night dream back. All that small rented room. 7 years passed. The useless Lisa Rain of old now became Best Actress. Lisa Rain finally can return home. But they said Keith Dalton died. Deed. I hadn't vented anger yet he died. Uncle on the other end urged, Little Rain, come quick, everyone waiting for you. I looked at the 2 bowls of wontons on table. Dazed, replied, Uncle, I'm eating wontons at home. The other end burst laughter. Uncle also laughed. Rain, New Year coming and still eating wontons? What? My throat ached tight, choked, almost unable to breathe. I heard the other side long after. Laughter finally stopped. Ethan York over there loudly called me. Rain, Rain, here, ordered all dishes you like. Let me come pick you. They not one knew what I really like to eat. I suddenly felt want to laugh, but tears fell before even laughing. I softly said, I miss Dalton. The other end fell silent. I hung up. I ate my bowl of wontons, but the other bowl still left there long without touching. I sighed. Pulled that bowl to me too. Why don't you eat? You're not a star. Don't need to lose weight. Keith Dalton ignored me. He's still angry at me for 7 years ago, not believing him, abandoning him. I picked a wonton from the bowl. Tears fell onto the green onions, making the soup ripple small waves. How strange. Why no trace of that year's flavor left? I met Keith Dalton's sister again. Her mental state seemed temporarily recovered to normal. She muttered, telling me a story, saying when she intended to use knife cut her arm. The knife was knocked to ground by Keith Dalton's soul. I attentively listened to her tell. Unknow why. In heart, suddenly surged, wondrous and strange joyful feeling. I originally a materialist. I understand better than anyone that those things fundamentally can't exist. But at this exact moment, I firmly chose to believe, because that's the only path I can see and imagine, to find back to him. Captain Victor happened to pass and heard those words. He somewhat helplessly, secretly told me that Keith Dalton's sister mind originally not clear. Those delirious words, he told me not to mind. But I felt her appearance clearly very awake, and what she said must be true. I increasingly craved to meet Dalton again, even if just see him one last time, to say sorry, or say I miss him much, or need say nothing. Just stand from afar, look at him once more. That would be enough. What? Keith Dalton's sister gradually stepped outside. Perhaps, really, as she said, she sensed Keith Dalton's soul, felt little brother always by side accompanying, so had more support and motivation to live on. Her delusions gradually lessened. She also began living like normal person. Half-year later, I received her wedding news. The groom, her childhood sweetheart. They had loved many years. If not for Keith Dalton's incident, perhaps they married 7 years ago. She over these 7 years, spirit always down and dazed. That man mild-tempered, refined, always by her side, never leaving. Now she gradually let go past matters. And finally they about to enter wedding hall, happy together for life. On her wedding day, I stood from afar, looked into the venue once. Suddenly thought if Dalton still alive till today, perhaps I could hold his hand, enter here together. Together witness his sister's wedding. Really miss him much. I should go find him too. Ethan York came find me one last time. He told me that the study abroad slot he once gave up years ago, actually originally Keith Dalton's. He because reluctant part from you, so hid from you. He gave up that slot. Then it fell to me. At that time, I just unwilling, seeing he could give up everything for you. So I also didn't take it. Ethan York, giving up a scholarship. For him not worth much. But me and Dalton both just ordinary people. Some big chances only come once in life. Whole life, perhaps, only that one time. He originally no background or support. Missing such study abroad slot also meant missing a brilliant future. Back then my health not good. Every night Dalton went downstairs dorm to bring me medicine. He often sorrowfully hugged me saying, "You just don't know self-care at all. When can I rest assured leave you alone?" At that time, I didn't know he had received study abroad slot. I leaned in his arms, spoiled, saying, "Then never abandon me alone, okay?" Just because that sentence, he gave up his chance. Ethan York spoke again. Years ago, he said, it was you who taught him to live without shame. And for him, without shame, was not letting you suffer loss. My throat, choked, bitter, cried soundlessly. Old matters years ago, truly unbearable to look back. Ethan York said the last sentence in the night. I've competed with him so many years, but only today I realize I'm not even a fraction of him. I donated all money earned these years, designated for domestic anti-drug and rehab cause. The little money left, I bought back the small rented room me and Dalton once shared. On the way there, I encountered a fortune teller man by roadside. He told me, "This girl, you seem troubled. Let me read a fortune for you, okay?" His eyes stared fixed at the bracelet and diamond necklace I wore. Not that he saw I troubled, but saw I have money. I suddenly recalled 7 years ago when still with Dalton, I never wore such jewelry. I took off the necklace, threw onto his stall, squatted down, asked that man, "Sir, you say, after people die is there next life? Is there soul?" The man stared at the jewelry I just threw, eyes shining bright. Then he nodded firmly. "Of course, yes. Only body perishes. Soul immortal. Past life, next life, thus reincarnate, eternal life." I gave a bitter smile, then nodded. "You said right." I took off the remaining bracelet, gave him. When leaving, I heard behind seeming someone scolding. "That girl complexion bad. Surely trouble. You still take advantage, cheat, lie. Beware heaven's strike, not cheating at all." I returned home, lay on bed, blade lightly touched wrist, until consciousness gradually faded. I suddenly recalled the scene, first meeting Keith Dalton. That was at orphanage, year I-14. He with classmates, led by teacher to do charity, bring warmth, love to orphanage. Keith Dalton went with his sister. Right then he caught me blocked by some boys at backyard, teasing, bullying. Actually, I long used to such things. Just about to swing fist, fight back them. Then, right next second, Keith Dalton rushed to block before me. The outcome of that hero, save beauty, not very good. He originally a good, obedient student. Never fought before. So got surrounded by those boys, beaten badly. Face bruised all over. After that, Dean ran over. Made those boys apologize to Keith Dalton and me. He ignored his own wounds. Crawled up, only worried, asked me, "You okay? Hurt?" Many years later, met Keith Dalton again at university. I almost recognized him immediately. Later, when I agreed to be with him, he still many times puzzled asked me, "Why choose a fool like me?" Memories suddenly back to narrow rented room. Under dim yellow light, he hugged me, shedding tears. Those vows like blazing fire etched deep in my heart. He said to me, "I swear, will forever never abandon